All right. I've got this glare. All right, if I move it off to the side just by a bit, we'll have less glare. Still on this one panel. At this point I've gone through and I've lettered everything, so I know where all my letters are, and then I've resized all the images, or the guidelines for the images. You can see I don't do much more than this for a panel before I've drawn it. Like, this is just the rough thumbnail. But what I've got to do now is probably quite boring, but we're going to do it anyways. Let me see, background. I've got to black out this upper area of the panel, this whole area. And probably also have to do some speech bubbles. Let's make this the bubbles layer. Bubbles. Okay. We have our two aliens here. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know my philosophy of speech bubbles is you mount them to the panel borders. That's how they're supposed to work. If you're just using the built-in you know, ovals, not even that. Maybe you've got some kind of oval tool. That's not a good speech bubble, or just as an oval. Instead, mount it to the border up here. What have you done to him? I think this should be bold. Select all. Because it's coming from this guy, he's very upset. Let's get back on the bubbles tip. This one can't be mounted to the border because we got this one higher up. And there's just not a border close enough. Also, when you do your tail for the bubble, you aim it towards the speaker's mouth. It doesn't have to go all the way to the mouth. In fact, it should not go all the way to the mouth. What's going on here? Well, here's what went on. Layer 2 has the speech bubble in it for some reason. I think it's because I was doing some tightening up, so we're going to fix that. Since it's okay and it's worth keeping. We're on layer 2. Cut and paste. This goes over here to bubbles. There we go. And then we just drop that in there. And we've got our two speech bubbles. And now here's the boring part. I've got to black out this whole background area above this line. This is going to be this brick wall, this low brick wall. They were on top of a building. And this is the thing about comics. Why you may have heard comic artists say, oh, making comics isn't fun, it's a chore. It is fun. Those guys are wrong. But it does require a lot of discipline. It's not like just drawing in your sketchbook and having fun, because you have to take care of the less interesting parts of it, like things like roughs and lettering and layouts, and just kind of thinking about what's going to happen next in the story. It's not the same as just drawing. That's why you see a lot of these guys on YouTube especially saying, I'm making comics. And when you look at what they're doing, they're just drawing pictures of characters, not in any context or story. It's just a pinup. And they go, oh yeah, see, look, I drew this picture of Captain America. And that means I'm making comics. Or I'm drawing a picture of my own original character. See, I'm making comics. That's not making comics at all. Making comics requires a little bit of discipline, and you have to actually be thinking about your story. It's not always just about the drawing, just about the impressive stuff. Sometimes it's about doing all these things like spotting blacks, like what we're doing right now. Throwing in a lot of black ink. Okay, now we gotta do there we go. Brought back our whirling around lines. Now these two heads right here, because they're on a completely different plane, I'm wondering if I should do a halo effect on them, maybe some kind of glow. Also, these aren't matching up exactly. Okay. Back to the background. This. No. Okay. Now we have a decision point, as we could take out this halo effect on him, or more likely, get into the inking layer. really thin this line up. All right, that's looking a little better. Are we in the background? There we go. There's our black with stars. Barry Windsor Smith, BWS. Okay. And we're still in the background layer, so we can actually get away with this, I think. I'm going to use a technical pen. Okay. We're just going to erase strategically. Same here, boom. Got it. And these are just little textury riffs to fill out the panel. Let's remove pencils. We can even remove our reference at this point. And I think that's a working panel. Like that one, it sells the story idea. And by the way, that is your goal. Just get us through this part of the story so it's telling the story. If it's not perfect, it's okay. I'm wondering if how to do the shadow underneath them. What is missing? Oh, layer one. Okay, there it is. Doubling up on your lines is a real easy way to turn a black line into a white line. All right, we'll finish up the shadow and I think we'll call that a day. Call that a panel. Anyone can make comics. Isn't necessarily that they'd be great comics. And of course your art can always improve. Everybody's art can always improve. But it's not about the art, it's about the storytelling, right? So as long as you're conveying the story in a useful way, in a comprehensible way, right? A reader could look at this and go, I see what's happening in this panel. I understand. I think this kind of works. And then a lot of it's just kind of the science of making the panels, you know, we put an element in the foreground, right? The two heads here. We put an element in the midground. That's this character here, right? We have this area where Onyx used to stand. We don't know what's happened. It looks like he was blown up. I'm looking at my lines here. Do not be alarmed. The war robot has merely been brought, I'm going to say merely. Been brought back to our study, our facility for further study. Okay. We're off to a good start with page 4. There we go. Please like, follow, and subscribe. There will be more comics every day. I'm also working on my sketchbook again, which is for fun and quite enjoyable. Had a couple of mistakes last night. I was drawing gorillas, but they're getting better. All right, talk to you later.